Hello everybody, welcome to the glorious realms of the Empire. Settle down with your paints and hot chocolates as I tell you about my home faction, the Empire of Man. So where is it located? The Empire is in a section of the Warhammer world known as the Old World, home to the Empire, Dwarves, Bretonnia, and the Wood Elves, and if you're counting the frequent raiders, Chaos and Orcs. It also borders some sparsely populated mountains to the east known as the World's Edge Mountains, which are practically impassable bar the trade routes. As you can imagine, with so many neighbours, the Empire is very safe from intruders. The Orcs and Chaos are the only real threats to the Empire, with occasional hordes that break through every so often to mess with the Empire citizens. What is the country like? Compared to the rest of the world, it's not so bad. There are 10 states, each fairly unique with their own cities, towns, beautiful vistas, and each with their own standing military force. They all have their own stories of wealth and grandeur, but they all have two things in common. You have to watch your back and you have to praise the Emperor no matter your quarrels. The Empire is a prime target for raiders because it is indeed so wealthy, meaning people are constantly prepared to take up swords and pitchforks to defend their lands. You may think this is all the more reason to unify, but in practice it actually fractures the Empire. The Empire is only unified by the fact they all have a mutual benefit from being under the Emperor and worshipping the man-god Sigmar. Otherwise, the elector counts, the highest-ranking nobles before the Emperor, would rather see each other burn than fight towards a common goal. As you can imagine, this puts the coalition under great stress, but luckily the current Emperor Karl Franz has relieved some of this tension through his talent and leadership. Who is the Emperor? The Emperor is a man who is elected by all the elector counts and electors to become the ruler of all the Empire and chief of the military. But it is only slightly higher than the count's rank, mind you. Seeing as all the counts hate each other, this can usually complicate the procedure, but once an emperor is crowned he will be respected by all, lest you want to pay the hefty price for treason. Candidates could be anybody, with the son of the recently deceased emperor being a candidate, but most definitely not getting daddy's vacancy for nothing. The current emperor is Karl Franz, who, unfortunately contradicting what I just said, grumble grumble grumble, took his father's place as emperor after gaining help from his uncle. I won't dwell on him for long, as personally I find him quite boring, but just know Emperor Franz is comparable to Sigmar in terms of suitedness to the throne, despite cheating his way to the throne through coin. Who is Sigmar? Sigmar is a god who was once a man who came from the realms of man, specifically from a tribe called Unberogen 2,500 years ago. Again, I find these individual characters rather boring in honesty, so I'll give you a summary of his achievements and a link to a video detailing him in the description. To sum it all up, he was a skilled fighter growing up. He saved a dwarf king at age 15, was awarded a magical super hammer named Galmaraz, which translates from dwarf tongue to skull splitter, by the dwarf king, unified the tribes of man to form the Empire of Man, and suddenly disappeared when fighting in the east, never to be seen again. So basically, he was a total badass. He is worshipped in the Empire as a god, in form of the Church of Sigmar, almost exclusively the only church in the Empire bar a few cults and the cult of Ulrich. His church also has some of the best fighters in the world, as priests, warrior monks of Sigmar. These are certainly no peace-loving hippies. And speaking of war, that leads me on to the topic of my next video, the Army of Man. For the rest of the series, I will split up the videos into the faction history and then the army. So if you want to just hear about the army, then, that's cool, you can click on that video. If you just want to hear about the faction, that's also cool, just click on that video. If you want to hear about them both, well, just let the playlist roll. You should also feel free to leave a comment if there's anything else you want me to go over, and if the case is strong enough, I will consider a follow-up video. By the way, Sigmar, Karl Franz, and Magic will all get their own videos soon at some point in the near future. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you later.